So, hello, and thank you for joining us today. We're excited to have you here for this Doctorate of Business Administration info session hosted by Grenoble École de Management. And today we're pleased to share info about our program and present to you some of the research done here at GEM. So, a quick look at the agenda. So, this webinar will be an introduction to the DBA process and the research journey. And the research journey you will undertake as a DBA candidate and explore management research possibilities. So we have also invited our colleague along to present his work to you as an example of one of the many types of research done here at GEM. And we hope to inspire future DBA candidates, answer questions about the research process more broadly. This is a great session to understand the range of different topics that can be studied in management research. And even if today we are just focused on one topic. So we'll be recording this session today and making this presentation available online. Please feel free to type your questions into the chat and we will get to them during the Q&A section at the end. So just quick introductions. I'm Jenny Hinderscheid. I'm the head of marketing for post-experience programs. That is our flagship DBA, MBA, and executive MBA and global MBA programs. And I'll let my colleagues introduce themselves.
Okay, so I'm the next one up. I'm the academic director of the DBA US program for a couple of years now. And doing this with much joy, with a lot of pleasure. I see people pursuing doctoral degrees, and that's a very happy place to be.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Charis Lee. I am the academic director of DBA, actually two DBA programs that we have in collaboration, one with HEG Geneva. So this is the Haute École de Management in Geneva. And the other one is the Polish school university, Kosminski University. And I'm managing both of these collaborator programs. And at the same time, I'm also assistant professor in marketing. And today's speaker is my colleague, Yashar.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yashar Bashirzadeh. I'm a professor of marketing here at Grenoble École de Management, and I'm happy to discuss some of my research with you today.
All right, thank you. So just real quick about the GEM DBA. So the DBA is a tailored 3-year part-time internationally recognized doctoral program aimed at business leaders and academics who want to enhance their career by leveraging research to solve complex issues. A mouthful, but important to think about when we think about what a DBA entails. A glance at research at GEM. We have 9 research teams. Today we'll be presenting some research through one of our teams. So that one is the marketing strategy and innovation. Nevertheless, we encourage you to take a look at research in general at GEM. Your research is individual. It's your own individual journey. It may or may not fall into one of these teams or even feel like 2 of these teams or more. That's okay. But I think by looking on our website, taking a glance at some of the work, the quality of our professors, their publications is a great way to get to know us and what we have to offer. So a little bit of information here. And with that, let's dive into our topic with Yashar. So thank you, Yashar. And we'll get a little glimpse about some research at GEM.
Okay, let me start talking about today's topic. I'm going to talk to you about from A/B testing to randomized field experiments, benefiting from your business context to conduct research. What I'm planning on doing today is going to talk to you about randomized field experiments and showing you how this is particularly suited to DBA candidates, where you can use this to benefit from your business context to conduct high ranking and high impacting research. Let's jump right in. So what is A/B testing? A/B testing is simply a situation in which a manager or a company decides to randomize part of their users or customers into different groups. At the most basic version, you have a treatment group and a control group. And this randomization allows you to establish causality. Now, throughout my talk today, I'm going to use A/B testing, randomized field experiments, RCTs, and randomized control trials interchangeably. And that is because in different domains, they mention all of these and they all mean the same thing. In the industry, it's mainly called A/B testing. And in the marketing field, we mainly call it field experiments. So these are the two that I'm going to use most of. So this is basically what an A/B testing is on paper. And soon I'll show you some examples of real research that we've carried out here at GEM using field experiments or A/B testing. So why is it that we think field experiments are the gold standard? Field experiments are the gold standard because with any kind of experiment, as long as you have randomization, can establish causality. Then you are moving away from correlational research and you can claim causality. You can establish causality. You can say a treatment, a strategy that your company had made a difference in an outcome, and you can attribute that difference to you can attribute that outcome to the treatment that you have. Okay. So experiments are known as the gold standard because this is when field experiments, because this is when the researcher studies observed behavior in the most relevant environment from an outcome perspective. And they bring in a lot of ecological validity to establish causality. Now, this is interesting because as researchers, these are things that we are after. We really need ecological validity. That's what journals are asking more and more these days. But at the same time, in my experience, field experiments can be a win-win situation in which your company where you are working right now allows you to run field experiments and benefit from the data. And at the same time, they can benefit from you analyzing the data and you conducting robust research to have a powerful impact on the decision making of this company. So the company will learn tons more about how they should behave with their customers, what their customer relationship management should be like, and a lot of similar things. Now, this is a relatively old example from HBR. This is from 2017. And in this article, they are talking about the A/B testings done in Bing. And back in 2014, they were saying that Bing is running hundreds of A/B tests per week. Imagine that. Imagine, in fact, when I teach research methods courses to my students, I ask them, how many of you have participated in an experiment? And sometimes none of them say that they have. And I say, well, you are likely wrong. If you're using any online software, if you are using Facebook, if you're using ChatGPT, if you're using Google or anything, it is likely that you are part of a treatment group without you knowing. When you click the terms of when you agree with the terms of conditions of a company, very likely with big companies, one of the terms is that they have the right to run A/B tests to improve the product. And that's what companies do. This is another more recent screenshot that I took recently. This is from the Android developers blog, and they have baked in A/B testing into their platform. So in this example here, you can see that both situations of two different apps, let's say, are the same, with one of them having a different price and the developer, the company, can study the effect of their pricing strategy on actual customer behavior. And if this is an interesting thing to study from a academic perspective, this then would have the potential to be part of your dissertation in your DBA. Now, we were talking a lot about A/B testing. It shouldn't be the case that when you write your proposal, you should merely mention field experiments or A/B testing just because you've heard that this is the gold standard. You should have a research question that's rooted in the literature. Let me give you some examples of my own research. You have likely seen that companies in their emails use animated GIFs and sometimes emojis and sometimes both. This made me think, what is the effect of GIFs and emojis? And I studied this as part of my PhD thesis, which I defended back in 2019. And we partnered up with a company, with a game development company, where we ran what we call a 2x2 experiment. This is pretty straightforward. You and any of you that's working at a company that has tens of thousands of customers or users, and you use emails to communicate with them, could potentially do something similar. You could manipulate your emails to have different groups and to see what kind of email works best for what kind of customer. In our context, we wanted to know the effect of emojis and GIFs. And the starting point was pretty simple. We had an email that just introduced a new feature of the game. This had no emojis, no GIFs. Another one that had emojis but no GIFs. Please note that the text should remain the same. So you should be able to tease out the factor that you're trying to study. And then we had another context that had emojis and GIFs, and the last one that that had no emojis and GIFs, and a last one that had both emojis and GIFs. I don't think the GIFs are working in this slide, but you should imagine that these two have this static file, the static image that's animated. That's what we find here. And the data that we had was data on more than 20,000 users of a game app who had given permission to the game provider to contact them. And the variables that we could study were both email variables. And if you work with any of these email softwares, something like MailChimp that I used for this paper, and that's used by many companies, you can have email dependent variables like opening, clicking on subscriptions, and you can have in-game or in-app dependent variables, including how much time was spent, how much money was spent, and things like this. In this paper, which eventually was published in a 4-star journal in marketing, IGRM, we found that customers find the combination of emojis and GIFs to be too visually complex, and that there is a backfiring effect if managers decide to mix emojis and GIFs. If managers decide to use communication that is too visually complex, it can backfire. Now, this can be something that you can do something similar to, because you have access to data and you work in companies. So if you decide to do a DBA with a topic that is both theoretically relevant and managerially relevant, then you are doing research that is both relevant and rigorous. And that's what we aim for here at GEM. Another example that I want to share with you is from contexts in which companies decide to let their customers know that they should use their products in moderation. This is a chocolate company in the Netherlands, and they have a very interesting promotion. It says, "I'm bad for your health, and you should consume me in moderation. Consume me consciously." And this is very counterintuitive because in marketing, we generally try to sell our products and push them as much as possible. So this got me thinking to try to investigate why is it that how would the customers react to something like this. And I wanted to do this in the gaming context. A great deal of my research is on gaming. And I found that, in fact, many mobile games also do this. Mobile games are encouraging players to take a break. That's an example from this game. Then there are subreddits on stopping gaming, where people themselves say that they have suffered from excessive gaming. People's parents or friends and siblings and spouses say that their relationships have suffered from this. And it is the case that some countries are cracking down on this and are saying, okay, enough is enough. We are going to sanction game companies, and we don't want our youth or our adults to play as much as they are playing. So it's best if companies could self-regulate so that external regulation is not forced upon them. For this one, again, we partnered up with a game app company, and we ran two field experiments. One of these field experiments was a year-long field experiment in which users who played excessively, and that's something that we had to define working with the company based on what is excessive for their game. Okay, so in that context, something around 2 hours was decided together with the company to be the excessive threshold. And whenever a user played excessively, they received an in-app message asking them to play the game in moderation. So the message basically said, "Thanks for playing our game. We see that you're really excited about our game. Please consider taking a break." And that's it. It didn't kick them out of the game. It didn't lock the game. They could have simply just ignored this message. So it was basically a small nudge. And this happened for 1 year. We also had a one-off field experiment in which something similar happened. We had a control, we had a treatment, but it wasn't the case that this was targeted, meaning a proportion of users were randomly assigned to receive a message saying, "In general, we care about your well-being. Make sure to use our game in moderation." So the two are different in the sense that one is a year-long one, the other one is one-off, one is targeted, the other one is non-targeted. Now, from the company's perspective, this is not really that difficult. So if you work in the tech industry, or if you have an app or a website or something like this, if I tell you that this is a year-long field experiment, you shouldn't imagine that there is something that they have to do actively for a year. You just write a code such that if users do a specific behavior, there is a automatic message that goes to them. Okay. In this paper, we investigated heterogeneity, which is academic jargon for saying we looked at the effect of this for different kinds of people, and we found that users who already have an established pattern, excessive players who already have an established pattern, are likely to react negatively to such message, while users who haven't established a pattern of excessive gaming are going to react way more positively to this. This paper was also published in, I might be facing some technical difficulties. Do you guys see the slide?
So yeah, no, it looks blank. If we could just,
Yeah.
is that okay there? See it now?
It shouldn't be blank.
Okay, I see your paper now. Is it coming up?
Not on my side. Do you see the paper?
I think you just need to forward one
Yeah.
slide.
Try that.
On the ribbon down here, it is on that slide. Let's see. Okay, now it's working. So this paper that I was explaining to you about with encouraging users through nudges to use the game in moderation was also published in IGRM, and it came out pretty recently. And this is another example of working with companies. And that's something that I think the DBA students are very well suited to do because of your positions in the companies that you work with. I want to finish by providing another example. This is a master student of mine. She is from the US. Her name is Tanya. And I supervised her master's dissertation. When she was doing her master's, when she was working on her dissertation, she was working as an intern in a boat rental company. Okay. And I talked to her and I said, hey, given that you're an intern in that company, do you think they will allow you to run a field experiment? She went and she talked to their managers and they allowed her to run a field experiment. That dissertation ended up being one of the top dissertations in France that year in marketing. The Academy, the Association of the French Association of Marketing picked it as a runner-up. This was, I think, one of the top 3 dissertations that year. And that paper is now being revised for the 3rd round in a 3-star journal. So if a student that was she ended up having a permanent contract with that company, and I think she's pretty happy. But if an intern can manage to run a field experiment that can end up potentially in a 3-star journal, I'm sure our DBA students can do much better. That's it for me. I'm happy to answer your questions at the end. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yasha. And with that, I think we'll have lots of questions. That was really interesting. With that, let's take a second to just explain a little bit more about the DBA. So, Charis?
Yeah. Thank you, Jenny. So let me take you to the very end of your potential DBA journey. This, if you can see the slides, do you see just the slide or do you also see my notes?
Just the slide.
Just the slides.
You're okay.
Perfect. So if you see the slide, these pictures are actually taken during the final graduation of our last year's DBA cohort. And among these graduates, you will see mostly 3 different profiles: senior executives who are looking to enhance their strategic thinking and to tackle complex business challenges. Or you'll see entrepreneurs or consultants. These are individual consultants usually, aiming to strengthen their thought leadership and develop an evidence-based framework to serve their consultancy. Or you will find academics and lecturers who are already teaching in different business schools, who are wishing to formalize their doctoral credential and advance in their career and in their research capacity. So now I can give you some examples of each of these profiles through our alumni. Here you see Bienvenu. He graduated just last year. So he's a good example of a senior manager who went through this DBA journey of 4 years and then eventually advanced into his current CEO position. So this is a DBA helping him to consolidate his expertise in the telecommunication industry, and you can look at his dissertation work on political risk management in weak institutional environments. So yeah, so that really consolidated his strategic thinking in managing a big firm, multinational firm in weak institutional environments in his home country. And that had earned him a CEO at his current company. And the second example is actually my DBA student who graduated last year. Wendy, she had 15 years of marketing analytics or forecasting experience in the field. And after that, she was invited back to a business school to be lecturer. And then she became the director of some programs over there. However, through these 15 years teaching at the school, she still remains an assistant professor because she did not have a DBA, because she did not have any doctorate to validate the credential. So finally, she did her DBA, and her research is on social media influencers community studies. And yeah, so after finishing this DBA, she is now more confident in pursuing her associate and full professor positions in her school and in other schools. And she's also now invited constantly to Silicon Valley companies and other entertainment companies in Los Angeles to give speeches and talks on the field that she's expert in. And the final example is Y. Y was, he had 10 years working experience in the fast-moving consumer goods company in marketing. And after that, he was an independent business consultant. So this is a classic industry to academic career transition case where he was not previously in academia, but through his DBA, he found his passion in research. And you can already see that he's published research that he had conducted during his DBA in internationally recognized journals. And after that, now he is an assistant professor, although part-time, at Lebanese American University. And at the same time, he's still continuing with his active business consultancy service. But yeah, so this DBA helped to serve his career transition. Now, you can gain a lot of things during your DBA. And two things that I want to stress for this DBA at GEM. First is that we focus on impact-driven research. As you can already see through Yashar's own research examples, these research are done to further our understanding of how actual industry practices should be conducted. And for you to have your business problems with you before you join a DBA, you can carry this problem with you to further investigate them and develop them, and finally form your own frameworks or knowledge to solve these actual problems, to have the real impact in the world. And the next one, this is very specific about GEM, because so far, through our 30 plus years of experience in DBA education, we have formed a over 700 student plus alumni network. And by joining our DBA, you will be able to access this global and lifelong network of GEM DBA alumni. And what sets our DBA apart from all the other potential programs out there? First is on the first day, actually even before you join your DBA, when you are formulating your research question to apply for our DBA, you'll be matched with a professor, someone like Yashar or myself, who have similar research interests as you, who have expertise in the field that you want to pursue, to help you refine your research question and help you find the appropriate method to actually investigate the research questions you have. So this expert faculty mentorship is one of a kind. And another aspect is we have very comprehensive student support through every milestone of your entire journey. People like Marielle and myself, we serve as academic directors to a very small cohort of students. So Marielle serves the students based in the US, and I help students based in Switzerland and Poland. And we also have academic director helping students in our France location. So all of us are here to support your journey, full time. So these qualities, these human touches, really make our GEM DBA different from all the other programs out there. And next, I give the stage to Ginny.
So just a quick glance at our program. We have two primary cohorts. So our DBA USA, DBA France. So Marielle here is our program director for the DBA USA. They are essentially the same cohort, but same program. The difference is that DBA USA will have seminar 2 or 3. Sorry, Marielle, or one of their seminar 2 in seminar 2 in Los Angeles.
That's right.
Whereas DBA France will be having that same seminar in France. So, but please feel free to take a look at which cohort best fits your schedule, your time zone. And so while we have 4 in-person seminars throughout these 3-year program, we also have regular evening courses. So take a look on our website. Those take place at 5 p.m. France time, which tends to fit also early morning in California for those who want to join us, and also in the Middle East. We kind of find it's this golden hour for people to join our online courses. So I'll go quickly over this so we can get into this in detail in our Q&A. So the next page. So we're also pleased to have launched 2 new partnerships this year. And with these partnerships are open with, I think, as Charles mentioned earlier, to our Polish residents, along with Kosminski University, or to our Swiss residents with HEG Genève. So if you are a resident from one of these countries and have more questions, Charles will be happy to meet with you and answer that. So another unique thing about our program is in year 3, we offer a choice of one of 3 specializations. The word specialization is a bit of a misnomer because it is not a specialization of your thesis. Your thesis is your own topic, your own journey. But we kind of find that these 3 topics generally sort of fit senior managers and their situations. They generally address challenges that you're working on in the workplace, and it also kind of encompasses quite a bit of research at GEM. But ultimately what it does is in year 3, it gives you some additional exposure, a fresh set of eyes, perhaps, after you've been working on your thesis, and a new way of looking at work and other and you get to meet some of our other faculty at GEM and see what they're working on. So it's actually it's kind of more for fun, I would say. Marielle can answer your questions about our specializations when we get to that point. So we'll continue. So to apply, this is the application. You can access the application platform on our website. Most of the application requirements are pretty standard, your transcripts, diploma, CB, but it really comes down to your research topic statement. So what we're looking for is about 2,000 words. We want to know the managerial business issue that you want to investigate and why. We want to get to know you. The current state of knowledge on this topic with supporting references. So what this means, we'd like you to take a stab. We know you're not, perfect researchers already, but go onto Google Scholar, put in some keywords around your industry, your interests, and start to look at what do we already know about this topic. So we want to know the impact on your career, your motivations, but we also, none of us are complete experts. You're learning research to know what already exists, and then also reflect on what is your contribution, right, to the current field. So that's just explaining it largely. But again, feel free to download these from our website and contact our team. As you start writing, you'll very likely have some questions, but it helps to start to get those ideas on paper. And reflect on the methods and data collection. You won't know right now, but we want to know that you can start to imagine your life. We're not going to hold you to this, but what are you looking at? Is it qualitative, quantitative? What does your industry look like? What's your network? What access to resources do you have? Start to reflect on how this is going to look for you for the next 3 years. And your general motivations. Why do you want to do this? Because it's a lot of work. So what is it for you? What are you envisioning out of this? Just so we can get to know you a bit more. All right. And with that, some resources to learn a little bit more about our program. Of course, we've got quite a bit on our website. We have a blog with testimonials. You can find that also on our website. We have some videos with video testimonials, and we're very active on LinkedIn as well. So we have a research LinkedIn page. You can also find all of us, and we're happy to connect with you. So thank you. And with that, we will open up to our Q&A. There's a couple questions already in the chat, so we'll start with those. Feel free to type your questions, or I'm going to allow the people to turn on their mics or raise their hands and jump in as well. So while I'll do that, how about we start with this first question? It says, if we are not currently working in a corporate environment, I'm in academia at the moment, can the program help us identify with companies to work with? So I'll let my colleagues jump in on that one.
I could perhaps take that question. In fact, there is quite a lot of our students are working in academia. Something like 20%, they're actually academia working in a university and trying to get a doctoral degree. And so this is also a very good fit for the DBA. So typically one person who is joined last year is working on the impact of education on the outcome of entrepreneurial outcome. And so there is the academics who join the DBA and people from professional or corporate companies who also join a DBA. So I hope that resolves the misunderstanding.
Thank you for that response. Sorry, I'm gonna jump in. So my area of study that I'm interested in, because I currently teach the entire business curriculum at the school that I work at. My area of interest actually lies in corporate organizational and management strategies. So it wouldn't necessarily be a research topic within academia. So that's why I was curious if there's any opportunity to work with current faculty to find a company that would be willing to participate in that.
Okay. Yes, so indeed, so that your idea is to actually get in touch with companies for your research objectives. That is something that we can discuss. We can see that with the supervisor and to indeed think about networks. That's a question that will come later in the DBA journey.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, I can actually also jump in onto this question. So my last student, Wendy, she was in academia. Well, she has been in academia for a while, and her research is done actually on publicly available data of not actually a company, but a influencers community. So she collected data through this influencer community through different channels such as YouTube, Instagram, and their blog. And finally, her research is out of all these data that she collected over there. So even if you don't have actual connection with the company, you can also find publicly available data, which many of our colleagues in accounting or finance have been using. And yeah, another way, I guess, is you can try to cultivate certain relationship with companies that might be around you. And I suggest this because you will be the person who will collect most of the data and be in most of the communication with the company if you choose to work with a company. So it'd be easier if the company is in good relationship with you rather than with your supervisor alone.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so quick question I can answer this is, do Bachelor of Engineering graduates, or so are they eligible for the DBA? So you do need to have a master's degree, a recognized master's or an MBA. So we do require that. That said, if you had a master's in engineering, that's okay. On the contrary, we do attract quite a few scientists who realize that, you know, they might have started off as engineers, but as life goes on, you realize it's been quite a few years since you've done engineering and you're actually dealing with people and management issues. So that's actually quite common to see quite a few scientists coming back and wanting to address managerial issues within the scientific framework. So, but we do require a master's or MBA. So I see a hand raised. Would you like to jump on in and ask your question?
Hi, good evening, good morning, everyone, good afternoon, depending on the time zone of our real Earth you're on. Okay, so I'm from Canada and I just joined in because it was my working hours. Um, so I've been researching on the DBA programs for France primarily because they're really good in terms of cost as compared to Canada and also as compared to the timeline. But my only concern is that the PhD is awarded by the ministry, right? But the DBA program is not awarded by the ministry. So would you have any instances where students internationally had trouble in getting their DBA programs equivalent to PhD in some countries? I understand that you get students from Middle East, so I think I do not know like if you have any instances where they had trouble because I'm from Canada and Pakistan. So if even if I wanted to go and work in Middle East or Pakistan, they would require equivalence for DBA to be equal to PhD. Do you have any examples of that students had no trouble in getting equivalence to PhD?
I would say that it really depends on what your goals are. No, a DBA and a PhD technically are not the same. So if you needed a PhD for your job, so let's say in these circumstances would be like you are going to go work for in Canada, we don't tend to have issues. In North America, a DBA is seen more, you know, quite high, and people use it to fast track to tenured positions or but that said, if you went to go work for a government or you were counting on a government scholarship or you wanted to work for a public university, in those cases, sometimes not only do they require a PhD, they require a local PhD. So it becomes quite political, and it's really important to look to see what your career goals are. So if you said, I want to go, work for this public institution and I want to do pure theory and I'm going to become an academic, then maybe a PhD is for you. If you are looking to maybe teach part-time and then use this to, people consulting or really just want to bring it back to your workplace, a DBA is enough. You still learn all of the, it's recognized professionally, but you might get, just to be clear, I know it's a complicated issue. It is recognized because of our triple accreditation, the seriousness of our program, our academic rigor, the publications. It's kind of like everything in a competitive environment, like any degree. It's what you make of it. So I think
Right. So sorry to cut you off. Let me
yes,
rephrase
please.
my question.
Yeah.
So for example, I did my MBA from UK, and then I did not have any trouble in gaining equivalence to that master's as a master in Canada. So an MBA from UK was awarded same as same equivalence as a master's in Canada, and there's a body that does that which is World Education Services. It's required for every immigrant to get their international qualifications equivalence to Canada. So MBA from UK was equal to MBA from Canada. So that's why I'm asking you, like, if a DBA from France has been assessed in your knowledge in other countries as equal to a doctorate.
No. But it's not just France. This a DBA anywhere would not be equal to a PhD, but not all PhDs are equal either. So this is what I'm saying. It really depends on the country.
Okay.
If you're going to study abroad, you need to look at the local recognitions as well. So
All right.
sorry, it's a bit more political than I'm answering,
Yeah.
but
All right. No,
but
that
let's say
helps me
if we
answer.
just look at that, no, they're not going to take any DBA degree, very likely, and say this is equivalent to a PhD. There might be a very couple exceptions of some executive PhDs out there, but very few. There's maybe 2 or 3 or something out there, and they might be more like 6-year programs and very rigorous,
Right.
and they're composed more like so it's a complicated political question. Sorry.
Yeah.
So that's
No,
why I
no
get back
Yeah.
to saying we want to be honest with you. If those are your goals and you really need it to be, approved by the Canadian state, then no. But if you're using this to gain the research skills and publish and to have a hybrid career or bring this back to your industry, this is enough. You don't need.
All right.
So
Okay.
so yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but
I
hope that
can
helps. Even for other countries out there who are thinking about going just into academia, will need to question that, or if they're looking for special funding from their governments. In some cases, this could occasionally
Alright.
to an
And
issue.
I
It
can
rarely
also
is an issue because the DBA is very much a different profile, but we need to be clear about those people who are not sure between a DBA and a PhD.
Right.
yeah,
Thank you
I
very
can
much for
I can
your
also
answer.
add I can add to this question. So you can see in our examples, many of our graduates have taken full-time or part-time lecturer or professor positions at different universities. There are people, for example, we have a current, I think she's about to graduate, a current graduate who is teaching at UCLA.
Okay.
So yeah, and my student, she is also teaching at a public university
Okay.
in LA. So yeah, and their university recognized their DBA. It because, well, let's say this. Harvard does not give PhD; they give DBA as well. So it really depends on. I think in North America, at least, there is not much differentiation in terms of recognition of PhD versus DBA if you would like to teach in a business school. And what adds to your degree is your experience in the industry. And I would like to describe a DBA as the summit after you have climbed your industry ladder. And this is the culmination of your entire career. Whereas a PhD is the starting point of your academic career. So I think it really depends on where you're going to apply after getting this DBA or PhD, and what they are looking, what quality they're looking for in their candidates.
It's well said to
Right.
mention the other
Thank you
business
so
school.
much. Yeah. Very, very helpful. Thank you so much, both of you, for your responses.
And we do have quite a few. It's about 40% of our North American alumni are working in higher education. So you can see the majority are still in industry, but we still have to some degree quite a bit. But if you want to talk to us separately about that too, we can put you in touch with some of our students and alumni, and we encourage you to also speak, if you're working already for school, to speak with them and what their specific criteria are. All right, so that was a good conversation there. Very, very helpful, I think, for a lot of people here. So here's another question. Maybe Marielle would like to answer this one. Said, could you elaborate on the time required for seminars? How much time outside of seminars is typically required?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. So the seminars themselves are very dense. So that's a week with a lot of teaching hours. Indeed, we require some preparatory homework to do some reading before that, but that shouldn't be that much. It's a couple of hours of reading, so to be well prepared. That is really the work required outside of the seminars for the seminars. Of course, the big chunk of work outside of the seminars is the actual research project you're undertaking under the guidance of your supervisor.
That's good. And I think while we're on this topic, it might be a nice segue, because it's a question we get quite a bit, on how much time perhaps people spend on working on their DBAs, how they manage their schedules. Perhaps people would like to jump in with some tips on time management and how much time a typical DBA candidate spends per week working on their DBA.
Okay, well, that I see that varies a lot. I think that's true for any program that we see people working really on a very regular basis. Others say, no, I can't face it in the week time. I spend my weekends on it. So that varies a lot. It is a lot of work. It's really, there's no hiding about it. It's a lot of work. When it gets going, the journey comes there that you get passionate about your research. So it will really be something that you want to take time for and organize yourself to have time for. So in terms of hours, it's very difficult to give a number. I would say, yeah, well, perhaps Ginny, you would have a ballpark.
We had to
I think it's
estimate,
like
I think
15 hours.
10-ish,
Yeah.
but depends on your level of English, your level of comfort reading, where you are at. Probably it's, might start as a little bit slower and then, busier milestones as things go on. Busier times and other times, maybe not so much, but I think one of the tips was to stay consistent, to not
Mhm.
wait until you're on holiday to start your DBA, to make it a part of your daily, or, at least set aside regular time. I was laughing because I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and the recommendation was do your work on your well, in this case it was a PhD, work on your PhD in the morning before somebody ruins your day. So, which I thought was funny, but okay, depends on, but it's, set aside that block of time that's for you that you can dedicate to it. And it takes a while to manage that between your work and your family. But that's sort of our advice. Charis, maybe you have some tips for that you've done with some of your students.
Um, well, again, going back to my student Wendy, she is the department chair of her university marketing department, and she teaches a lot in different programs, and she also gives speeches, and she is the mom of two teenage girls. So you can imagine all her obligations, but she still managed to finish her DBA, but using a lot of her weekend time and holiday time, and yeah, even staying up late at night, which I do feel bad, but if this is what requires of you, then yeah, it's worth it.
I see that Nelima has her hand up. Was that question from her or?
Yes, hello all. It was a very
Hey,
good
hello.
presentation. Thank you. Yeah, sir. I really learned a lot. I have just one question. Does this program give us the EU blue card thing? If we complete that, it's not necessarily something I want, but just was curious.
Sorry, what is it?
The EU blue card, where you can probably pursue employment within the EU for permission for immigration and things like that.
Not necessarily. No, I mean, you don't get a student visa. You come in for, so I would say it's complicated because you've already coming in. I would say no and yes. So no, because you're coming in on a tourist visa. You're not going to, that we don't have this regulatory framework around a DBA. That said, because of your qualifications, having a European degree, those things could open you up to more opportunities informally.
Okay,
But-
thank you. Yeah, that helps. That helps. I think I was kind
Okay.
of thinking the same, so that helps. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any last questions? No? Oh, no, here's one. All right. How would you recommend getting started on the application? Okay, and the research proposal. I heard it mentioned that we'd be partnered with faculty, but not see. Okay. So, so you're in Lexo, our great team here. So we're 3 academic directors. What we do is, so we go through the application essay that I told you about. Fill out our application page on our website. You'll be in touch with our team. So if you have any questions at all, in the process of this, they're happy to meet with you. Once you apply, you'll have an interview with one of our academic directors. No pressure. It's again for them to understand what you've written, where your goals are, get to know you. And what happens in this conversation is, they read your profile, your experience, your essay, they get to know you, your personality, how you like to work. And they start to think about who that best supervisor is for you. Knowing GEM's, expertise and the large amount of research active faculty. And from that, we then, within the first, couple weeks after our deadlines, our board meets, we discuss it, and we'll usually have 1 or 2 suggestions for you that's like perfect. Sometimes it's a perfect fit. Sometimes we'll have you meet with those supervisors. So you don't need to actively look for supervisors yourself. But that said, we do encourage you to go onto our website, get to know our researchers. If someone's profile jumps out at you, let us know. That really helps everybody identify that, like, wow, this piece was really great. It really motivated me. But that's okay if you don't. So maybe perhaps Charis and Marielle, you have something to add about this?
Can I
Yeah,
also mention
Oh,
something?
yes, please, Yasha.
There's talk of a bridge program that I'm sure Ginny, Charis, and Marielle likely know about. This program is put in place, is going to be put in place so that it helps some of our applicants with writing the proposal. So this is, if you want, a pre-DBA program with the goal of having a proposal at the end of it. It's not concrete yet, but stay tuned.
Excellent, thank you. In the meantime, yeah, so our current essay is quite informal, but we do want you to start to take a look at current research, take a stab, get to familiar with, start to learn about academic writing, explore what's out there. That's really what we're looking for. So, we don't want just a loose essay that took you just a few minutes. We want you to take some deep reflection on what that topic is that interests you, and that you know how to maybe just start to get it going. Google Scholar, look for recent, I'd say, articles from the last 5 years. Get yourself back into writing and really think about what you want to do. That's really key, is your motivations around this.
Yeah, and I can also add to the application process. So if you really want to do a DBA and you have some like practical questions in mind. For example, I recently encountered a DBA applicant who wanted to solve the process of change management in his own company. So they're going through some really big technical changes that will, for example, change how people work, maybe also change the structure of the workforce. Then how would that influence people's morale and so on and so forth? And he wanted to study this. And he looked for some research on this topic, but they might not be current enough or be relevant enough to his specific industry and specific context. And then he reached out to us saying, I want to study this. Where can I start? And then we might, at that point, find an expert in that field and to arrange a short conversation, either through email or through Teams, and to guide the candidate to the literature and to maybe some case studies on the area that he wants to do, or she wants to develop. But in the application process, the work is still your own. Yeah, you have to own your own research question. You have to own your the field that you want to jump into. And we're here to help you to find that field and to help you to navigate the literature.
Exactly. It takes quite a bit of time to narrow it down. And a lot of that you'll be doing, with the help of with the team and your supervisor as you start. But in the meantime, we want to know that it's narrow enough for you to get started, because 3 years goes by fast. All right. Any other questions? If not, okay. Well, I'll let you adjourn. And so thank you so much. And thank you, Yashar. I'm going to have more questions for you on A/B testing. So very exciting.
With pleasure.
Yeah.
Feel free to reach out.
I absolutely will. Thank you. And oh yeah, so another quick question was the application deadline. So we have rolling applications. We take applications monthly, and we do that because I said our board reviews the candidatures together. But the last application deadline is the end of August, I believe. So the information is on the website. So then we'll finalize our recruitment mid-September, and we get you all welcome to Grenoble. You can see the beautiful Grenoble behind me in November. So all right, thank you so much. And have a good day. So thank you.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.